A warm welcome to Aviation this week on Channels Television. I'm Bukola Joe Oketumbi. On the program, we once more turn to the issue of Jet A1 pricing and airline operations. Just the past week, airline operators in Nigeria had planned to suspend operations on the 9th of May, but for the intervention from the government. Domestic operators are not the only aggrieved parties. Aviation unions also shut essential services for a day on the 9th of May to drive home the non-implementation of new conditions of service for some aviation parastatals. That's the program's preview, and we take off from here. Aviation union members at the Lagos office of the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority in Ikeja. They are the entrance barring staff from entering the office. This action, according to the unions, is to push home the message that all is not well. The unions are seeking the implementation of the new conditions of service for the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, the Nigerian Airspace Management Agency, the Nigerian Meteorological Agency, and the Nigerian College of Aviation Technology in Zaria, Kaduna State. It's the same situation at the Nigerian Airspace Management Agency as workers are locked out. The Assistant Secretary of the National Union of Air Transport Employees, Ochemi Abba, said the warning strike has been successful.
Since today, NAMA as an organization has not operated anywhere in Nigeria. Nobody has gone to any office in NAMA nationwide. And their activities, the only group of people that we had no business with in NAMA are the air traffic controllers who had made clear that they are not part of this activity. And they are not members of NOATE or OPTA. And so we didn't have any issues, or we didn't go near any control tower. I'm aware, as a matter of fact, that air traffic controllers are presently out of their stations, and it is the Air Force. I can say that for Lagos. It's currently the Air Force that are operating the control tower in Lagos. I don't know what is happening in other airports. So it's important that people know we don't have an objective to say aeroplane should not fly. Our objective is that NAMA as an organization will become inoperative, NCAA as an organization will be inoperative, and NCAT as an organization will be inoperative.
With the union's voice heard, the body calls off the second day of the warning strike. It's not the same for the airline operators. It has been a mixed bag. From 9 members who originally signed the initial letter to suspend services, to 6 operators finally calling off the exercise on the 8th of May, government intervention may have come early for the airlines. At this meeting between the leadership of the House of Representatives and stakeholders in the aviation sector, it appears government intervention came early as the leadership of the House of Representatives and critical stakeholders in the aviation sector are present to address the threat by airline owners to ground operations due to the high cost of Jet A1 fuel. With an initial bumpy start, the Central Bank governor joins the meeting and explains the reason for showing up late.
This letter of invitation was received at my office around 11 a.m. this morning, and I was at Lagos, missed my flight, and I directed our Deputy Governor Economic Policy to represent me, standing for me, pending my arrival at Abuja.
As the meeting gets underway, the stakeholders lay their cards on the table on the course of the increase in the cost of aviation fuel from 150 naira to 700 naira in 1 year.
And short of the story that this product was not given to us, and under our noses, the thing continues rising. With due respect, Mr. Speaker, we are not striking. We didn't intend to go on a strike. It was not strike. What the airline operators of Nigeria was saying on Friday night when we released our communique was that we don't have the money anymore to pay. If anybody gives us money to pay, because they are now asking us to pay upfront, we have messages here being sent to our members. If you pay upfront, we sell it at this amount. Nowhere in the world is aviation done cash and carry. Airlines owe. We are owing the marketers. Yes, we are owing them. Airlines owe all over the world. Even spare parts. Sometimes you take the spare parts and you pay later. Not talk of aviation fuel. You don't have to carry loads of naira in your cargo hold to pay. We are owing. We are owing these marketers. Yes, we do. We do, but we are servicing them.
as far as I know, 75% of aviation fuel brought to Nigeria is brought by the NNPC, by Duke Oil. So if the NNPC or Duke Oil, NNPC is going to give that product to the marketers, why can't NNPC give us to us?
It's not every marketing company that can handle etiquette, including the chairman's company. We cannot give him, he has a marketing company, we can't give him etiquette to handle. NNPC is not interested in importing etiquette in this country. We will be very happy to be excused from importing etiquette into the country, and the solution to do is provide FX to the marketers. And we're happy to exit this.
The suggestion of the Speaker for a closed-door session is not agreed to by the GMD of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation.
Coming here to pass aspersions on the NNPC.
Can we? Okay, you know what? At this point,
Honorable Speaker,
ladies and gentlemen of the press,
I'm aware that they are coming to this floor to cast aspersions on the NNPC, to say that we are the ones who are increasing the price of this product. We are the ones that are not allowing this product prices to come down. Now, I'm very aware of this before I came here. And that's why when you ask for executives are saying, no, let us speak it out so that they can say what they want.
After about 3 hours, the Speaker secures a commitment from the NNPC on what appears to be an interim solution.
NNPC and the airline operators have both agreed that in the interim, for 3 months, that your marketers of choice that you are comfortable with and you know their markup will not drive you out of business will be supplied with jet fuel. Yes. We agreed on that. And that there's 6 benevolence of the governor of General, there's 6 million liters available now at 480.
Before now, the airline operators had listed the issues of high cost of foreign exchange and its non-availability, custom processes for imported spare parts, lack of parking facilities for aircraft, bird strike and its economic impact, and multiple entries for foreign carriers as part of their challenges.
One of the demands was to benchmark the price of jet fuel. In the free market system, you cannot benchmark anything. You have to leave them to the market. If we benchmark the price of fuel, we have to benchmark airfares. And that will create long-term disadvantages both for fuel suppliers as well as to passengers who would have to pay higher fares or pay fares that are not sustainable because they're not driven by the market. If you try to benchmark fuel fares, the price of oil goes up and down, which is reflected in the price of the petroleum products that are derived from oil. So those prices will vary upwards and downwards. And so when our benchmark price is lower than the market is sustained, the government would have to subsidize. The challenge with subsidy and why we've been trying to end it with PMS is that it's not sustainable to the economy. And with all of the stresses on government, one must wonder where they will find the money to subsidize the airline industry. So that's one of the problems. The other problem is Forex. And the central bank has come out to say that we really can't provide you Forex because we are not earning the money to provide these additional charges to the federal government. And so I called again that the airlines have to be innovative in finding foreign exchange, since it's clearly spelled out that the government is not in a position to provide foreign exchange. So if prices become too high, people would move away from buying products, which will reduce demand, which will also influence the price. So the long-term solution is to allow the markets function, but also to rationalize the level at which profits are taken so that oil marketers don't take 100% profit on a product that is critical to the survival of the general economy. Also, at the same time, we allow the airlines to set their prices. And if you remember, it's not one airline, maybe 7 or 8 airlines, and you're going to end up with different prices. If you listen to the chief executives of airlines, some will tell you that their base cost per seat is 120,000, others to tell you it's 55,000. So in between that, the consumers have a choice, and that's the key to the survival of any economy, especially the capitalist economy such as we operate. So consumers will continue to enjoy the benefits of the prices offered by different competing interests. So while we may have an organization representing the entire industry, Business should function as business should, which is that the market will be determined by the prices of the various suppliers within that market. That's the only system that works. And we're treating this problem as if it is unique to aviation. Mobile operators run generators and base stations all over the country. They're buying millions of tons of diesel. Hospitals are buying millions of tons of diesel. Even your TV station to offer 24-hour service is offering millions of tons of diesel. The minute we start looking at it from a legislative point of view that we must solve a market problem through price fixing, then we must fix for everybody. We cannot isolate one industry over and above the others. So the long-term solution is just to allow the markets to operate efficiently as possible, and the market will moderate itself.
Passengers at the Murtala Mohammed Airport too, as airlines suspend their planned action of not flying. With Nigeria producing 1.4 million barrels of crude a day, but refining little, it relies almost completely on fuel imports, making the local markets vulnerable to disruptions. Many travellers go about their business, but are also not oblivious of the situation.
They have a point because the cost of the running cost has increased tremendously. So we're calling on the government to assist them to reduce costs. Otherwise, the extra cost is passed on to passengers. As it is now, fares have increased, and the passengers are suffering. They won't come to the airport without knowing, they know the fares, so they come to the airport properly prepared for it. I can't call on the airline not to increase their fares. If they have a just cost to increase their fares, they increase their fares.
It was a very big scare because flight movement remains almost the only safest route for most people traveling. And you know that it is not even because many people can afford traveling by air, especially with the cost of flight tickets now, but because of the situation in the country. But if, for instance, they carried out the threat, it would have been a disaster for this country because many businesses will get paralyzed in different destinations. Everybody is in business. Even those who are flying are also flying to also catch up with some businesses. So all the issues have to be taken into parameter, and I want to believe that there is a need for government to holistically look to the cost of doing business in Nigeria.
While the days ahead may come with ticket price increase, a former airline operator believes in hedging of fuel for carriers.
What the international airlines they do is because they know their operations are very stable. They know that they consume 1,500,000 liters a month. So the airline will go and say, look, I'm consuming this and I'm going to buy this from you at so price. And then they will lock up the price and pay for their fuel. So that gives them the liberty to sell tickets because they know that every ticket they're selling at that region. Now, the international airline are still having the same issues that we're having. The prices increased the same way. I was consulting for another carrier, and they were complaining that Jet A1 is very expensive in Nigeria. In Kano, it's close to $1.47 per liter, and that's quite expensive.
For other industry stakeholders, aviation fuel may have gone up, but the fact is that inflation is affecting every business as cost of operation keeps soaring.
Welcome, paramedics in jet suits. That's on our feature after the break. Do join us again. A pioneering British jet suit company is giving superhuman powers to the response of emergency services for search and rescue missions in remote locations in the north of England. Jamie Walsh, a Great North Air Ambulance paramedic, is the first of 3 trainees to fly the Gravity Industries jet suit in the steep hills of the Lake District just after 6 lessons.
Initially, when I was told about this, I thought, it's impossible. And then it starts to become possible, and then actually you start to see the trials of what's achievable. And now I feel like there is a place where this can benefit patients. Where normally I work through the day on a helicopter, obviously on days like today where we've got sort of low-lying mist and fog, the helicopter's going to struggle to sort of get there and get up there. And you know, there's a bit of a gap between what the aircraft can achieve, getting us there in poor weather, and us getting there hiking up on foot, deploying from a car. And hopefully, you know, this gives us the opportunity to look at other options to get care to those patients quickly.
Jet suit inventor and developer Richard Browning flew a test route up Evelyn, completing a 750 meters climb over a 2-kilometer distance in around 3 minutes 40 seconds.
If you think of the cost of a paramedic helicopter and all the crew involved and the maintenance and everything, actually this is a fraction of that. So actually I have no doubt that it has its place in the sort of portfolio of equipment that these kind of professionals have at their fingertips.
The 3D printed suit consists of 2 small turbines attached to each arm and a larger one mounted on the back. It can reach speeds in excess of 128 kilometers per hour and is technically capable of reaching an altitude of 12,000 feet. But for safety reasons, is flown much lower.
This journey started around a year ago with the Great North Air Ambulance Service, who asked us to come up and trial this concept, and it worked so well that we've spent the time in the interim, alongside all the other things we do in Gravity, actually developing the equipment further so it can fly, you know, faster and further for longer, and also training up some of the paramedics as well.
The next stage of the project is to get the paramedic flight skills to a level where real emergency assistance will arrive via jet suit paramedics.
Partly by the organization Yad Israel.
Now to Ukraine, where elderly Jews who witnessed World War II are moving back to Israel. Dova Govagevis was in her 20s when World War II started, and she was forced to leave Kyiv to escape the Nazi invasion of Ukraine. Now at the age of 100, she had to flee Ukraine again, this time in the face of Russian invaders.
I said to myself, oh my God, what a nightmare. Here we go again with the war, bombings, evacuation, leaving your home behind, not being sure if you'll stay alive or not.
She is one of almost 300 Jewish Holocaust survivors from Ukraine who have been given refuge in Israel.
Back then, we knew that we had an enemy, Hitler in Germany, that attacked our country. But now it turns out to be that we're fighting against a country that we used to call our elder brother.
When the invasion started, she initially locked herself in a house all alone before deciding that she wanted to immigrate to Israel and stay there for the rest of her life, believing it to be the safest place for Jews to live. Govagevis is now staying in a care home in the coastal town of Netanya, north of Tel Aviv. Valery Bendersky was just 7 when he fled to Kazakhstan to escape the Nazis. Nearly 80 years later, he has had to abandon his homeland of Ukraine once again after Russian forces invaded the country.
I have lived through 2 tragedies. I was fleeing from Hitler then. Now I have fled from Putin. Naturally, it is hard.
According to the United Nations, more than 5 million Ukrainians have moved abroad to escape the Russian onslaught on Ukraine. Aviation provides the only rapid worldwide transportation network, which makes it essential for global business. It also generates economic growth, creates jobs, and facilitates international trade and tourism. In the aviation mix, sustaining a viable airline industry is important, and this cannot exist without airworthy aircraft, and what is also described as continuing airworthiness of this craft. For passengers who travel every day, this is their description of aircraft safety.
The flight coming back to base is for their safety. When a pilot attempts some maneuvers and find out that he cannot continue, before he returns back to base, it's a very hard decision to make. But basically, if he has seen that to the best of the interest of the passengers and the safety of his flight, he will return you back to base. He's not doing that because he doesn't know what to do, but he doesn't want to risk it. He would not prefer doing it 50-50.
The scariest moment is when during rainy season, when you are in higher altitude, you lose altitude. Definitely everybody screams and calling Jesus and Allah. So naturally you feel it. That's my scariest moment during rainy season when we enter turbulence.
Away from passengers to a hangar facility in Lagos, where the top boss here takes us through a D-check currently going on an helicopter as part of the maintenance schedule.
This is an Augusta 139 helicopter, an 8 years inspection. It's the highest level of maintenance that can ever take place on this aircraft as approved by the manufacturer of this aircraft and the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, NCAA. It's a 12-seater with crew 14-seater helicopter, one of the best and the fastest here, stripping off of the engines, removing the engine, the gearbox, the entire cockpit, the instruments, the entire flight controls.
So what exactly is airworthiness and continued airworthiness?
Airworthiness is the heartbeat of aviation. If an aircraft is not airworthy, you can't fly it. You can't even start the engine. So, but one thing we must get is that the continuing airworthiness of any aircraft is the responsibility of the operator. This is key for us to understand, because the operator has the responsibility to ensure that the aircraft is airworthy. If there's any, God forbid, any plane crash or any incident, the person that the customers talk to is the operator, not the civil aviation. So if I rig a particular aircraft engine, I'm licensed, 20, 30 years experience, fine, but somebody else must come and check if what I did is correct and countersign and put his or her license number there and full name. So what I do today on any aircraft as an aircraft engineer, 5, 10 years later, if that aircraft has issues, it can be traced to me because there's a record.
The airworthiness of an aircraft is concerned with the standards of safety incorporated in all aspects of its construction. The big birds usually go through checks across all components.
Engines are driven, some aspects of the engines are on and they are on hard time. That means you cannot run them beyond their approved life. If the manufacturer says this engine should run for 3,000 cycles, that means 3,000 landings, 3,000 flights. You can't do 3,001. So there is that other aspect. But there's this other aspect that says if an engine is on ground, you must run it every 10 days to make sure that the engine is still in good shape. So in the first scenario, when you say 3,000 landings, and therefore you can't run the engine beyond 3,000 landings, that is hard time.
The Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority's functions and oversight of all the airworthiness includes air transport operators and approved maintenance organizations.
I want the traveling public to understand the NCA is ensuring continuous airworthiness of all the aircrafts that fly in Nigeria. We do check them. When do we ensure they go through the due maintenance, and when they do, they bring the records, we cross-check and confirm before we sign the airworthiness certificates.
No aircraft can operate without a certificate of airworthiness, and this is issued for an aircraft by the National Aviation Authority in the state in which the aircraft is registered. These certificates attest that the aircraft is airworthy insofar as the aircraft conforms to its type design. This is where we touch down on this edition. See you next time. I'm Bukola Joe Oketumbi.